Welcome back. Now, the South African National Editors Forum, Sanef, met with Finance Minister Tito Mboweni following what has been viewed as a tour against the media by Tito Mboweni. Now, Sanef reiterated its concerns around increased physical threats to journalists and also the critical importance of government leaders protecting and strengthening constitutionally guaranteed freedoms. Minister Mboweni acknowledged that there was some problem with the tone and the severity of his tweets. And Kate Skinner from Sanef, the executive director at Sanef, joins us now to talk about this. Kate, thanks for coming through. Now, let's not repeat the mistake that Tito Mboweni made and actually contextualize this whole discussion. So what exactly did the Minister of Finance tweet?
Yes, so it was interesting because it was kind of late at night that these tweets came out, and it was basically a declaration of war on editors. And of course, as Sanef, we were quite shocked by that because he's in such an important and powerful position. And we can't have, our finance minister saying, war on editors, war on the media. So we actually called him and we said, can we actually come and meet with you and discuss these tweets? And I think also just to say that, the context of the elections now, where we need to protect journalists and we need to actually talk about the importance of media freedom. So he obliged. Absolutely. He said, look, come and have a discussion with me about these issues. And what came out of the meeting was quite interesting. He basically said, look, he had been harassed by a whole lot by a particular journalist who was claiming to be a journalist, wasn't in fact a journalist. So there was a whole lot of unethical behavior that had happened. And it was in that anger, in that very angry space, that he had then kind of lashed out and sent out these tweets. And so he did. He apologized. He said, look, it was inappropriate. I shouldn't have said those kinds of things. And then what was very positive about the meeting was that he said, I absolutely, commit to media freedom, to those constitutional issues of access to information. And a further thing he said, which I thought was very interesting, was he said it's actually absolutely critical for the economy that you have a strong media. Which I thought was a very important point, and I absolutely agree with him. It is, because if you do not hold people to account in powerful positions in the corporate sector and in government, then you're not going to have a robust economy. It's part of a robust economy.
But the problem that this creates on the face of it is this double speak. So you have these contradictory messages going out because this was a very strongly worded tweet, and we put it up a little while ago. And the language in there was very confrontational. I mean, as you guys said, it was declaring war on editors. So how do we mitigate for that? Because on the one hand, there are those people who saw the minister's tweet who do not have the context, as was explained to Sanef, behind closed doors. So how do we go about making sure that we don't have repeats of this? Because he there, in capital letters, uses the word war. And perhaps for our visually impaired viewers, let me just read this tweet very quickly. It says, wars start in different ways: spears and shields, gunpowder, bullets, and now through media, printed and electronic. Example, trade wars by a superpower president, and then social media. Well, the South African editors must be editors. If needs be, we will be forced into the fight. War. That is very, very serious.
It is absolutely serious. I think this is one of the big problems with Twitter and social media. This is the issue, is that, people get very angry, they lash out, they put out these tweets, and then calmly, like the day after, they look at this and they think, ooh, maybe that was a problem. Maybe the tone was bad. So I think that, over time, what we're seeing more and more is that people in positions of power really need to be incredibly careful with their social media.
Absolutely, because some people would have seen this and thought, you know what, Tito Mboweni agrees with my view on the media and therefore go out and attack the media. And we've seen quite a bit of that. I mean, last week we were talking about, journalists being taken hostage in Tanzania. So, these are the sort of things that the journalistic fraternity doesn't need. But just moving on with regard to the media and looking at some of these sticky situations, he mentions there the trade wars. We know Donald Trump has been a fixture on Twitter. He basically runs his communications department through Twitter. And officially so. So, we remember more pertinently here at home, Helen Ziller and the colonialism tweets and these sort of things. Yeah. What is the message then to our leaders? Should they be turned off?
I mean, I think the issue there is that we need serious responsibility, and my sense is that you've got to have a sense of the fact that if you put that tweet out there, as you're saying, it's there forever. You can't really delete it. So the issue is it's about serious training, I think, for our leaders, and at certain times, I think when things get very tricky, it might be that you rather run your communication campaigns through other platforms.
So where we stand right now, the issue with Tito Mboweni has been resolved.
It has been resolved. He was very gracious. He apologized. He also stated very strongly his complete support for the media, his support for Sanef itself, and also, as I said, particularly pointed to the importance of the media in a robust economy and his particular role as finance minister. So, at the end of the meeting, there was a sense of, we understand each other. Also, what I thought was quite interesting is that he also raised the issue of unethical journalists, people, pretending to be journalists, asking a whole lot of questions which were not in the public interest.
What is Sanef doing about that? Leanne touched on this earlier with some person who works for UNISA who was actually running some fake news platform. What is Sanef doing about this?
So that is a big issue for Sanef. So one of the things that we fight for is ethical journalism. And so one of the things that we are working on at the moment is, in fact, we are going to be doing an investigation around an inquiry into media ethics and media credibility issues, because we do see it as a problem. And certainly for the Minister of Finance to raise that as an issue, it was an important issue for him to raise and put on the table. And we also acknowledged that it is something that we need to look into further.
Kate Skinner, thanks so much for coming in and actually setting the record straight in this regard. Kate Skinner is, of course, the Executive Director for Sanef, and the meeting was held between Sanef and Finance Minister Tito Mboweni to basically iron out that war tweet against the media that the minister had sent out. Well, that brings us up to time for a break, and then we'll go to news.